Alright, everybody, I need you to really fucking listen to me. Your feelings are not a weakness. Your emotions are not a weakness. Okay? Listen to me. You have reactions. You feel, and I've done a video on this before, but I'm elaborating because I did a research project this year where I went even further into what my knowledge of emotions were, and I got a little deeper, and I got a little more explanation to you. And I'm going to show you some things that I find pretty interesting. This video may be a bit long, I don't know. Buckle up your seatbelts, okay? So, this is what I'm going to just tell you first off, okay? The thing you need to really understand in the middle of this, process, and I'm taking this out because I'm referring to it the entire time, okay? Yeah, I think I'm going to just go off the outline, okay? Listen to me. Your emotions, this is what I need you to consider the entire time we're throughout this video. Okay, emotions or feelings are related, but they're not the same thing. Okay, emotions are energy in motion. What does that mean? That is the energy that is circulating in your body. The emotion, right? The energy that causes you to shake. The energy that causes your head to just want to explode. The energy that causes your eyes to tear up. The energy that causes your pupils to dilate. Whatever's going on in your body, something is creating that experience. Correct. Feeling is being able to identify it with your mind. Your brain identifies it. Your body feels. Your body feels. Your brain just identifies the signal. Correct? Do you understand what I'm saying? So, for example, let's say my boss yells in my face. I'm gonna get pissed, right? Or you might get sad. Let's just take anger, for example. I'm mad. So now I feel like my veins feel like they're starting to boil. I might be shaking a bit. My face might be getting a bit red. And my breath might start to shorten up a bit. And I'm just clenching up tight. Because I'm really thinking about what I'm about to fucking do to this guy. Right? That is emotion. That is energy. That is energy circulating. Feeling is knowing that is anger. You feel it. You can identify that signal. You can identify the anger. Or, well, you have the ability. Your brain has the ability to allow you to experience it, if that makes sense. Your brain allows your nervous system and your body to engage in the feeling of that emotion. Correct? Okay. Now that we've established that, we need to really understand something. The reason why a lot of us believe our emotions are bad, or why we don't really feel as much as we should, well, actually, that sounds like I'm preaching, but here's something out. We grow up in a culture where emotions are seen as weak. We grow up in a culture commonly where our emotions are seen as, suck it up, move it away, like, suck it up, just do whatever, right? Suck it up. Don't cry. Be tough, right? Like, how many times have y'all heard those things from, like, your parents or older people or, like, just people in your life telling you, like, hey, brush it off to the side, it doesn't matter. You're doing yourself a big disservice by that. Now, yes, there are times where you have to hold back your emotion in certain circumstances. Because I'm angry and my boss is yelling at me, I can't just hit him straight up. Okay? In order to get my emotion out. That's unacceptable. You can't do that. Okay? That's just acting out. But what you do need to do is make sure that emotion is released. Because what's going to happen is that when emotions get held in, they get trapped in the same place they originate, and that's the body. Yes? So wherever those patterns, like clenched fists, right? Anger is going to be trapped in clenched fists, right? So whenever you clench your fists, or you may find yourself tensing up a lot when you're angry, right? Or you tense up when you have to try and hold it back, because that's commonly where the anger originates from. Or your head, you start to get a massive headache after you hold back from having a rage, because that's the holding pattern for your body to restrain from having a complete flip out, right? That emotion has to be released. That's the purpose. That's why bioenergetic catharsis is so damn effective, because it's your body, right? Because you're releasing those patterns, and they light up. Okay? We live in a culture, like I said, we live in environments where our emotions are commonly seen as a hindrance. They're not. This is what I got you. This is what I really need you to understand. Emotions are a biological response to your environment, or a response to something that triggered something in your past, right? That too. So for like if for example your girlfriend is hanging out with a guy and you start to feel really anxious, past trauma. There may be something that happened in your past, like let's say your mom was seeing another guy while she was married to your dad, and you saw this happen somehow, some way, and you didn't, and you knew like mommy's supposed to be with daddy. She's not supposed to be with this. Oh, why are they doing what mommy and daddy? You don't feel okay with that. And then all of a sudden, you see daddy go over there and he starts yelling at mom like, what the fuck are you doing, you stupid ass fucking bitch? You know, like crazy shit like that. That'll traumatize somebody, and he feels anxiety. So now, that past experience, every time his woman's with a man and he feels like that wasn't the right thing to do, that emotional trigger will happen. So it can result from past experience. It can also result from environment. It's just a reaction. And commonly what we want to do is we want to suppress it, right? Because we believe it's not okay, or we'd rather just not feel it at all. Okay? Because some feelings, let's be honest, we don't feel okay. It's not that pleasant. So what do you have to do? You got to hold it back. And that's where holding patterns start to happen. This is where emotions start to really mess you up if they're mistreated, okay? Or brought down to the wrong level. So like I said, I already brought up childhood trauma can absolutely affect the emotions that you will feel, and so will your environmental factors. Now the reason why I'm even getting you guys to understand this point is because your emotions are reactions, yes? This is the thing I want you guys to understand. You need your emotions. Your emotions are what makes life seem real, yes? So don't hold them back. But this is really the big deal. There are disorders that have formed physically and mentally and even socially on your three in the triangle of health. I think that's what they call it. I can't remember. But in those three aspects, physically, mentally, and socially, if your emotions are suppressed, they will go to one of these three areas, if all three, and detriment them in some sort of way, yes? Because you have to think, the body can become very hindered, and it can tend to develop malfunction, yes? Because of the emotion that hasn't been released or confronted. So it's literally just sitting in there, stirring up a storm. Mentally, it can affect you because the emotion is no longer becoming identified, but it's still going. And because of the fact that you haven't actually dealt with it directly, it is going to show up in other areas of your life. Like, you ever seen somebody just burst out with road rage out of nowhere for like absolutely little ass reasons? It's because there's an emotion inside of them that's been trapped that triggered it. The more your emotion builds up, the more reactive you become to other things, if that makes sense, right? Like, you'll develop sadness, you'll cry over little ass things if tears are built up on the inside, yes? If you have a lot of sadness and misery built up on the inside, sadness will occur in a lot of other areas of your life because you're creating it subconsciously. You're not even realizing that you're taking steps toward that direction. And socially, you'll just tend to bring it around the people. You'll tend to associate it around the people. And those people might even reflect those emotional triggers or these emotions that you have that you've put inside of you in order to make sure it doesn't get out of you again. Okay? The truth about your emotions is that you have to restore touch with these guys. You've got to understand them, okay? Here's the thing that you have to understand about your emotions. It is okay to feel. Without feeling your emotions, nothing in your life would seem real. Okay? It's not weak. And because you have a reaction to something is not a sign of weakness. It is a natural response. Especially if you're somebody who holds your emotions back, and those things are triggered, not only is that environmental factor triggering you, but all the fucking past emotions that have been trapped inside of you are now getting an opportunity to surface up, because they're getting aroused, and that environmental factor just aroused you. So now it's becoming even worse, and you think you're going to be strong enough to hold it back. It's not about strength when it comes to holding back your tears. It's not about being strong to hold back your anger. It's not about being strong to not feel. No. It's not a factor of strength. Okay? Feeling is life. Okay? Feeling exists. It's real. Emotions happen. So what you need to learn is to heal whatever emotional burials you have in there, whatever emotional fractures you've got going on, and I advise you to start understanding them. Because if you can understand your emotional triggers, you can understand the cause as to why you feel a certain way. And if you can understand the way that you feel about something and the why behind it and the reasons behind it, you're in control now. You're in control. The emotion no longer has you by the balls. It's no longer a ticking time bomb. You understand it. You're now on the same page as your emotion. You understand how to let it come through, and you understand its reasons for surfacing. So you know how to master it. Yes? I'm going to talk about mastery a little later, though. Methods to restore your touch. Writing, talking about it with somebody, bioenergetic catharsis, a physical release, discharge. What else, man? You know, anything that causes you to reflect on your emotion. Here's the thing I need you to understand. If for some reason you get emotional reaction and you have to hold it back, you have to promise to yourself later that you're going to release it in some sort of way. Preferably through the body, but even just through letting it just spaz out of you with a bunch of fucking words. You know, I had one earlier. So, even if it's just a bunch of rah conversation, right? That can be necessary in order to get that emotional reactivity out of you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. So, emotions are feelings. What I need you to do is get yourself to talk to them. Get yourself to sit with them. Get yourself to welcome them back into your life and face the trauma. Here's the thing I think. It takes a stronger person to admit that they have a feeling. It takes a stronger person to be genuine about their feeling than it does for somebody to just hold it back and be tough. Right? Because all you're doing is hiding what's really going on versus actually being able to allow yourself to own up to what the reality is and what reaction is going on. So, first, step 1, be vulnerable. Step 2, understand and recognize the emotion and the cause behind it. Step 3, embrace and live. Step 4, learn to master, right? So once you've learned why your feelings happen, once you've learned kind of the history behind whatever triggers are going on, once you've learned to embrace and really just fully be with it when it happens, your best shot is to own up to it now. Own up like, hey, this is my reaction. This is me. They didn't do anything that made me feel this way. They may have caused something, but my reaction is what I'm remembering. Right? Because their memories get trapped in the body, dude. You know? And those emotions drag them. So, this is what I need you to understand. Which one can I go off on? So what I would honestly tell you is to own it up. Own up to it. And once you understand the emotion, like I said, you can master it. What does that mean? When you can master the emotion, that means whenever you have the reaction and you understand why you're having it, you're going to be able to objectify the emotion And you're going to be able to basically basically fix it in a way. Basically repair the damage. Basically repair the damage and be able to alter the meaning to it. Be able to realign your perception with something else. Okay? But you have to understand the feeling first before you can go and master it. You can't just feel nervousness and be like, I want to be happy, I want to be happy, I want to be happy, and then you line up with happiness. It doesn't work like that. You have to understand the nervousness first, understand what's going on with it, and then you can line yourself up with where you want to be. You have to be able to fully understand the emotion in order to fully objectify it. Okay? Now, methods, like I said, bioenergetic catharsis, get a physical release. Talking about it or writing about it, get a mental release, right? Emotional breakdown. Allow it to fully carry you through. Like, have a full breakdown. Don't hold it back in order to stay strong. Fucking love it. Fucking pour yourself out, okay? Because here's what's going to happen if you don't. You're going to develop, and I said this again, I'm going to say it again, if you hold these emotions back in you, they're going to reoccur in other areas, in other ways or forms. People have researched and found that when you hold these emotions back, they will show up in other disorders such as like anxiety, depression. They will form, especially those two right there, anxiety and depression, hardcore. You hold your emotions back and suppress them. Those physical, those mental states, those states right there, those disorders, they will come up. They will form. Okay? And I'm only saying disorder as in a scientific manner, not as in, oh, something's wrong with you, dear. Okay? It's just a state. But it's not a state that you ideally should be catching. Okay? So, hear me out. When these emotions are trapped, they are going to compensate for not being released by expressing themselves in another way. When you hold your emotions back, let me repeat that. Y'all know where I got that from. Whenever you hold your emotions back and keep them inside, they are going to express themselves and compensate in another way. Through physical destruction, through mental alteration, or social reflection. And you could really interchangeably use that. So social destruction and physical reflection and stuff like that. Don't hold your emotions in, because all you're doing is hurting it. You can't stop the energy. You can brick it in and cage it up and block it in as much as you can. But do you realize what it's actually taking for that block to happen? It's having to compensate in other ways by affecting other areas of your life, and you don't even know why. Because you've held back something and it's had to compensate by expressing in another way. You can't refrain and restrain energy like that. How would you feel if I tied you up in a chair, no food, no water? You are going to want to get out of that bitch. And you are going to figure out various ways and try various attempts in order to do it. Your emotions are doing the same thing with you in your life.